Good afternoon and welcome to our Let's Talk Marketing show. My name is Amanda Delaney. I am a marketing mentor and I'm here today with my wonderful guest, Mary Farrelly from The Dog Knows. You're very welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Amanda. Delighted to be here. Honoured to be here.
Listen, before we jump in about marketing, tell us a little bit about your business and how long you've been in business.
Yeah. So my business, as you said, is called The Dog Knows. So it's really all about transforming the way we communicate with our dogs. That's the aim. Because what I've learned over the years is that really there is no issues between dogs and humans, except for we just don't understand how we're trying to communicate to each other. So that's my aim, and my vision is to set out to explore that a little bit more. I suppose I'm in business for over 3 years now. The business has changed and adapted constantly. It's been hard to keep up with myself sometimes, but it's also been an amazing journey. And I've shared quite a lot of my journey with you over the last couple of years, Amanda. So I know you're well versed in what I get up to.
I love that you said that the business has changed, and it's been my experience and watching clients, the evolving, and things do change in your business. I look at a lot of people getting overwhelmed and frustrated with building these beautiful websites, only to find out, and I'm speaking about myself, 6 months later your business has changed, it's evolved, certain parts of it may have changed. So tell us a little bit about the change. So how did your business start pre-COVID to what it is today, Mary?
Yeah, no problem. Well, even if I go a little bit before pre-COVID, Amanda, if that's okay. So originally, I would have started, the business was then called Little Paws, and it was all about children's dog training. And it was an amazing experience, and it was part of a franchise at that time. But as you said, things grow very, very fast and very quickly. Things move very quickly. And I realized not long into it that there was more that I wanted from the business. So, on April the 1st, 2020, I decided to rebrand and launch the business. I kind of said, well, look, all this chaos is going on, so what better time to try something new? So what happened then was I decided that I wanted to be able to offer services to more people than just children, but they were always going to be at the center of it. So it's been quite an interesting journey. And I suppose in my experience, what I learned, the biggest learning is that you can't be everything to everybody. And that has kind of pulled me, it sort of stopped me for a little while. I felt a little bit stuck because I was trying to be everything to everybody. And I just ended up exhausted, confused, not really knowing what I was about. So, realized, well, if I don't know that at this stage, then my clients are definitely not going to know that. So I knew it was time to, I suppose, reevaluate and kind of just get very clear. So I think the biggest dilemma for me was trying to offer so many services. And when I look back now, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking of? But isn't that what business is about? It's about learning and stretching ourselves and growing.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't think it matters what industry you're in. I know when I started out in coaching, I'm going to be a coach. What are you offering? Coaching. It's getting that clarity and really getting clear for yourself first. And then you have to have that offer that's solid that people can see. It's not just your industry. I see it across all industries. We try and be all things to everyone. And what's interesting is, and this is something for all sorts of businesses as well, and I see it a lot, going from being under the umbrella of a bigger company in your marketing, sometimes it's a bit restricted. Sometimes it can have its ups and downs. So you're told and given marketing strategies, but yet your own personality is bursting and your passions are coming through. So what I know we didn't even plan this, but what was the turning point for you to say, you know what, I want to be me and I want to have my own business with my own say?
I think you've just explained it so well. It was that feeling of, yes, I was in business, but I wasn't in my business. I really felt that I was still working for somebody else technically, as in, they guided it, they dictated the terms, they said what could or couldn't happen, how flexible or, how inflexible I could be. And that kind of that realization was like, well, really, this is a little bit like having a job. And that's not saying that franchises are bad. They're amazing. Like you said, it has a very clear structure. If you work within that, it already has a proven recipe there, you know, so you're onto a good thing. But somewhere deep inside, there was a yearning for something else. And I think that's why I left the day job in the first place, was to create something from the heart, something that I cared about and felt passionate about. And that also means taking the chances and risks that goes with that as well.
Fabulous, fabulous. So let's talk about, you know, okay, so here you are now, 1st of April 2020, and you're starting really from scratch again, because sometimes we have to leave what was in the past and just have a blank slate, taking our experience and our knowledge, and here we are ready to start again. You know, fresh slate, new things. Tell us a little bit, what was your biggest challenge in doing that, when in terms of marketing? So marketing as in, you know, your message, your offer, you know, okay, a new audience, attracting that audience, getting the word out there. In terms of all of that, what was your biggest challenge, Mary?
I think my biggest challenge was one, understanding where was the right place for me to be. But also it was around time, Amanda. It was like trying to manage all these things that, you know, you do a little bit of research and you're listening to people, which people are very helpful, but that can also confuse you. And I felt totally overwhelmed. And that showed up in my business for a few months. I kept getting stuck. I kept feeling like I was hitting a brick wall, and I had to I had to slow down and take a step back and say, okay, so what can I manage and what can I do? It was that feeling of overwhelm. We're expected to be on all the social media streams. You know, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And you end up doing nothing because you're just, or you're forcing it, aren't you? And that's what I resented, was forcing it, trying to be, you know, the person, or present myself in the way that, you know, all the learning was telling me. You know, you have to show up, you have to look this way, you have to speak this way, you have to act this way. And again, that caused turmoil for me because I felt I wasn't being true to myself. So for me, it was, where should I be? How do I need to show up there? And how can I manage it in a time frame without sitting 24/7 in front of the computer? Which, you know, has happened a few times, but now I realize and I can pull myself back. Which is a great learning.
I love it. Two things there is don't lose yourself in it. Stay authentic. People are buying from you. And then the second thing is, you've only got a certain amount of hours. Make sure that you're working smart and not harder. So work smarter, not harder. Know your audience, know where you should be, and be yourself when you show up. Phenomenal, phenomenal. So talk to us about your successes, Mary, because I know you've had many.
Well, I think
all this clarity now.
Yeah, look, it's been an amazing journey, really, and even the hardships have been amazing when you look back, because they show you how far you've grown and developed as a person, not just your business, you yourself as a person. So I think, like, successes are things like, I've pulled back my services, and you mentioned it there earlier, finding your niche. That's been so valuable to me. So instead of trying to deal with, you know, all families and all dogs and all people and all problems, I brought it back to starting with a focus on families and puppies, families maybe even considering getting a new puppy, or at that stage of puppyhood where there's, you know, the rose tinted glasses, I do say, fell off, and you've got this chaotic little puppy running around the place causing all sorts of mischief and mayhem on you. And by doing that has allowed me to concentrate my own education and knowledge to specialize in those particular areas, which again is so freeing, Amanda. It's like, well, I don't have to have the answers to everything, but I do have to be, you know, knowledgeable in this area, and that builds my confidence as well. And when you feel confident, your clients feel confident. So that was the first thing, was pulling back there. And in the latter few months, it's just been an amazing journey, actually. I feel really good at the moment. I feel really strong in my place. And that's because now I've started organizing my marketing. I've sought advice from people like yourself. You know, I highly recommend getting a mentor. If I'd realized what was ahead, the journey that was ahead, I wouldn't have struggled with thinking at the beginning, I can't afford this. I would have said, I can't afford not to. I can't afford not to have a mentor, especially at that early stage of business, because you're trying to juggle everything, aren't you? You have to be everything. You have to run the business, do the business, market the business, take care of everything around the outside. So that would be my first piece of advice. Consider it, even if it means being out of pocket for a little while. It will return, the revenue will return, plus your life will be so much easier. That's the reality of it.
I always say that it saves us time, money, and brainstorming, which is a lot of our marketing and our offer. It's not a job for one. Even when you're a marketing mentor, I need somebody. I just had this discussion with a client this morning saying, I don't get this stuff. And I said, it's not that you don't get it. It's just not a job for one. It'll wreck your head.
Yeah, and we feel we have to know everything, don't we? So that was another lesson for me. It's like now I've picked 2 or 3 avenues. So say, for example, for me at the moment, my concentration is still on Facebook, because that was where I started, and that's where I still have that biggest following, and people can find me easily there. And then the other option I'm going to look at is LinkedIn and Instagram, and they're going to be my 3. I'm going to throw in a little bit of YouTube and connect it in through those platforms. And I'm not going to worry about trying to be on there 7 days a week. I'm sitting down, and what I'm doing now is focusing on a 2-month content strategy plan. And I don't mean anything fancy by that. Actually, the opposite. It's like, okay, this is all I have to do in the 2 months. So I don't have to be thinking every day I have to have something out there. Every day I have to have some fancy post. Or what really frustrates me personally is just trying to think of something to pop out there just to show your face, which actually isn't taking your client on any sort of journey. It's just confusing them. It's like, oh,
value over volume.
Yeah. And that's the big, I think that's another big tip that I'd say. Cherish giving that value, and think about that journey that you're giving to your customer. I think that's been one of the greatest lessons for me working with yourself, is understanding the client journey, the customer journey, and realizing that actually it really isn't about us. Because when we're putting out posts in the early days, it's like, oh, I have to, be this, I have to be that. And as I've come to realize, they don't care. It's what is in it for our client, what is in it for them. So it has to be relatable to those. So aren't you better having 3 good solid posts a week that relate to a client than having, 10, posts going out every week that are willy-nilly and abstract and confusing for the client? So, yeah.
That's brilliant advice. Sharon is watching us here. Sharon D, work smarter, not harder. Absolutely, but it's easy to fall into the trap of working harder. I did it myself last year, nearly burnt myself into the ground. And Tanya's here. Hi, Tanya. So if you've got questions for Mary, feel free to leave them below here, and we will catch up on them. So your top tips, Mary, for people in business, starting business, pivoting businesses, and you've taken your business online, because myself, we've actually had the privilege in this house of working with Mary and our gorgeous puppy Minnie, and it's worked really well online using Zoom. Molly, Mary and myself, and at some stages we had teenagers and everything behind us listening in on the session. How have you found, marketing online, but now working with clients online with their puppies and their families?
Yeah, gosh, Amanda, the whole online element, I'm sure for many businesses, not just me, but in the beginning of COVID, it was like, oh, that's it, I'm doomed. It was all doom and gloom. But I think, if you have that willingness to be in business, you have that kind of fight inside you all the time. So I explored the going online and started offering consultations, especially family consultations, and they just brought me so much closer to where I am. And there's so many advantages to that. Obviously location is one, because I cannot travel the whole country to talk to somebody, but we can easily have a chat on a Zoom meeting. And I think the important message for people around businesses is that, especially a business like mine, what's important is the communication as much between me and the humans as the dog, because I want to help you work with your dog, not me work with your dog. So that was a big lesson for me. I was like, gosh, this allows us to talk in depth without actually the distraction of a dog, and to help people understand why the dog is working in a certain way, what it is that they can do, and even let them practice in front of me. So it's been an amazing tool, and I definitely will never let it go. And, you know, it's definitely now, it's how do I utilize that more, as in the online courses, which I've delayed because I got in such a dilemma with my marketing, actually, that it took over everything else. So next step is online courses.
Fabulous. So your top tips, before we wrap up today, your top tips for business owners when it comes to marketing.
Remember, you're only one person. Definitely quality over quantity. And I definitely advise sitting down and having a little plan, be it that you know, sit on Canva, you know, pile up a few little posts, schedule them in, take the pressure off, do a little bit of bulk work, and it pays dividends in the long run. And use your tools. I just scribbled down a few tools that I use that really have helped me. Sorry, I know there's a little bit of an echo. So Canva is my favorite. It's my best friend for all sorts of reasons. And the fact that you can, if you want to schedule direct from there, is really, really helpful. I use Calendly as well for taking bookings now online. So even if we're doing Zoom online meetings, they can just choose their date and time through Calendly. It's a great tool. I use Trello as well. I think Trello, you'll either, you know, love it or hate it. I just find it useful for building up that stock that I spoke about, building a little bit of stock and tapping into it. And then I have MailerLite as well, is my next one that I have to venture into, just for the email marketing and the automation, because I can see that's the next stage now for me, is, you know, building that relationship without doing all the work constantly, answering 10 emails, you know, to and fro, to have clear systems and processes in place. But there's so much value, but definitely, you know, sit down and have a couple of sessions with a mentor, the right person for you. I think that match is really, really important. And yeah, you'll be well on your way.
Mary Farrelly, you're like a new woman. All this Calendly, the transformation has been phenomenal. And I love the fact that most of those the apps that you've recommended, they're free. They're free, and they can save you a lot of time. You know, Mary as well touched on a mentor, and this came up last week for me as well within a group I was in. The important thing about, you know, getting the right mentor is actually asking yourself and being very honest with yourself. Where are you right now? Where are you right now in your sales, in your marketing, in your business, your finances, all them kind of questions, tough questions. Get really honest. And then where is it that you want to get? And pick one area. Pick one area, because I think myself and Mary can totally relate to going off in tangents in different areas, and that causes overwhelm. So what will benefit you most right now in one area of your business to move it forward? And then, what do they say? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You'll know the right person because you'll now know an area that you're trying to move in. Trying to move in all areas at one time can cause a lot of overwhelm and a lot of unnecessary stress, wasting energy and time and everything else. So that is my advice when you're asking yourself, who do I pick for a mentor? Where do you want to go? And if you want to know where you want to go, you want to know where you are now. Google Maps will ask you your location and where is it your destination. So when you're looking for a mentor, they are my two top tips to find out where you want to go. Mary Farrelly, it has been my absolute pleasure to chat today. Thank you for the audience who've watched us live, and I know a lot of people will watch this on replay. So if you do have any questions, like always, as you can see, no matter what the industry is, when it comes to marketing, we're more alike than we are different. It's all about the audience and getting your message out there on the right platforms in the right way that's authentic to you. Thank you guys for watching. Mary, have you anything you'd want to say to the audience before we wrap it up today? How can people contact you, actually? I know we have your details. How can people contact you, and who's your ideal client to work with?
Yeah, well, I can be contacted on Facebook is usually the best way, or on the website. So it's the dognose.ie. I think my leaving bit of advice will be is not, don't be afraid to ask for help. I am so stubborn and pig-headed that I get it so difficult to ask for help. But I've realized that, especially over the last couple of months, the difference, people will only give you help if they want to. You're not asking them, you know, to do something that they don't want to do. But that whole network and having people that you can just pick up the phone to and ask a question if you're stuck makes a massive, massive difference. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. You don't have to do all of this on your own. I don't know why we have this idea that we have to be, you know, amazing at absolutely everything. And when you can, you know, reach out and maybe hand out some of those jobs to take the pressure off. If they're not your forte, don't be beating yourself up on them.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. So we leave it there for today, folks. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.